Hey everyone, welcome to the Stitch Sessions. If you're new here, it's Karen, and I love all things to do with crafting with crochet. So in today's tutorial, I'm going to show you guys just a really pretty stitch pattern, and you can use this for all kinds of fun things. It is called the Fans and V-Stitch pattern, and it looks like this. It's super pretty, and I love how it kind of looks a little bit boxy, but not quite. It's got a little bit of airiness to it. But it's really nice and cushy, and when you turn it around, this is what it looks like on the backside, which actually I still kind of find fairly pretty as well. So it is a 4-row repeat, but don't let that intimidate you. Once you get the gist of creating your V's and then your fans, it's just an easy repetition. It's just that one row is going to be flanked by fans, and then another row is going to be flanked by half fans. So that's why we needed 4 rows, which I'll go through with you guys all in the tutorial. I love how the edge creates this really pretty wave. I just think it will make for some great fun projects. And in fact, I do interject just close to the end about how I would handle my edges at the end of this stitch, depending on the project I'm working on. So make sure to watch all the way to the end to find that out. And if you're super new, do not fret. If you know your double crochet stitch, you can actually do this stitch really easily because it's just made up of double crochet stitches, and then you're working some chains every once in a while. And again, I'll go through all of that in today's tutorial. So what do you say? Shall we get stitching it up? Let's work up our fans and V stitches. Okay, so for this stitch tutorial, I'm going to be using some of my leftover yarn here. So this is the Bernat Super Value yarn. And it's funny because I mostly use their premium line. So I must have not been able to find yellow in the premium line. But anyway, it's still a lovely yarn. I just tend to go more for their premium line. And this is a medium 4-weight yarn. And just in case you're wondering about the color, it's just simply called yellow. And the hook size I'm going to be using for this project is a 5.25 millimeter hook, which is also known as an I or a size 9. This is not as common a hook size. This is an old hook that I've got lying around. Usually I would go for a size 5, like a 5 millimeter hook, but today I'm going to use a 5.25 just to give us a little bit more stretch in our stitches. And as always, make sure you have a pair of scissors and then a yarn needle to weave in any ends at the end. So once you've got your materials together, you're ready to get stitching. So we're going to begin by placing a slip knot onto our hook. And this stitch is done in multiples of 8 plus 1. So what you're going to do is you're going to stitch in sections of 8, 8, 8, 8 until you get your desired length or width of whatever you're working on. Then you're going to add one more at the end. So once you've got your multiple of 8 plus 1, you will then add another one for your base chain. Okay, so I'm going to do 4 sets of 8, so that's 32 chains. And I'm going to add 1, so that's going to give me 33. And then I have my final addition at the end. So in total, I'm going to chain up 34 stitches. So I'm going to start off with my counts of 8 to begin. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then I would just continue 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's one more set is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have 4 sets of 8, which gives me 32 stitches. And then I'm going to add 1 at the end. Okay. And so once you've got your multiples of 8 plus 1, you then add 1 more stitch. And that's going to be our turning chain for our first row here. Okay. Once you've got your length of chains that you need, what you're going to do is you're going to find the second chain from the hook. So remember, we never count this loop that's on the hook. So you count 1 and 2. And into that chain, you're just going to single crochet. And this is the beginning of row number 1. Then what you're going to do is you're going to skip the next 3 chains. So we have 1, 2, and 3. And into this 4th chain here, we are going to place 9 double crochet stitches. So this is what gives us that fan. So you'll yarn over, insert, So you have 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So these are a lot of stitches into the same chain. So it's going to stretch out like that, but don't worry about it. So we have got 9 double crochets. See, this is what creates a full fanning out effect, okay? So once you've got your 9 double crochet stitches, what you're going to do is you're going to skip 3 chains again, and then you're going to single crochet into the 4th stitch. So you have 1, 2, 3, and into the 4th stitch, you will single crochet. And that anchors down your fan. So on either side, we've got this chain. So on either side, we have the single crochet and a single crochet to anchor down the fan. And so now you're just going to repeat that fan to the end of your row. So again, we would skip 3, 1, 2, and 3. And into this 4th stitch, we're going to place our 9 double crochet stitches. Then you would skip 3, and into the 4th chain, you're going to single crochet. And that is what you're going to repeat all the way down to the end of your chain. So I'm going to go ahead and finish my row number 1, and then I'll meet up with you at the end. Okay, so I've just done my last fan here. So my work is looking like this. And the end of the chain, you're going to have 4 stitches left. So again, you skip 3, and then into the 4th chain, you're going to double crochet. Sorry, you're going to single crochet just like that to anchor down that fan. So the fans take place in row number 1, okay, or all the odd numbered rows. So I have 4 sections of 8, so my work looks like that. Now, the chain is going to get stretched out where we place 9 double crochets, but don't worry about it. That's all going to even out as you go along. Now, if you're doing something like basically anything, if you're doing a blanket or a scarf or something like that, I would then come back around and do a border. A lot of times I would actually start off with a base row, like of either single crochets or double crochets before I would actually get into the full stitch. But that's a discussion for another day and another project. So right now, this is just the stitch itself. So let's go on to row number 2. And so for row number 2 is where we're going to place our V stitches. So we're going to start off by chaining 3. 1, 2, 3. You'll turn your work, and this will count as a double crochet stitch. And now you're going to place another double crochet into this very first stitch right here, into that single crochet here. So you're going to double crochet. Then we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You will then skip over this fan, and what you're going to do is you're going to find that single crochet, and we're going to place a V stitch into that. So we are going to place a double crochet, then chain 1, and double crochet back into the same stitch right there. And that is what creates our V stitch. Okay, so you have something that looks like that. So the V's will always be nestled in between the fans. And I know right now this chain 5 is floating out here, but we're going to fix that in the next row. So then you would chain 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You would skip the next fan and find that single crochet and place a V stitch in there again. So double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. So it's feeling kind of wonky right now because that chain 5 is just, feels like it's floating out in the middle of nowhere, but it will all come together. So that's what row number 2 will kind of look like. So go ahead and finish that, and then I'll meet up with you at the end here, and we'll talk about going on to row number 3. Okay, so just done my last set of 5 chains, and now I'm going to find that very first single crochet we did in row number 1. So this is the stitch of the first of the 9 double crochets. So be careful not to mistake that. You're going to go right there, and you're going to place 2 double crochets. So remember, we did a chain 3 and a double crochet at the beginning, and that chain 3 counted as a double crochet. So it's 2 double crochets at the beginning and 2 double crochets at the end. Okay, so row number 2 is complete, and it is looking pretty darn wonky. So you can give a little stretch there. So this is what kind of gives it some of its texture, we'll call it, because it's got, you know, it's got a lot of shaping to it. So you can see it on this side here. Okay, so this is essentially the repeat. You've got a row of fans and then a row of chains and V's. The thing is, we want them to sit alternatively. So our next row of fans will be placed slightly different. So I'm going to show you that right now. Going on to row number 3. Okay, so we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. We're going to turn our work. This chain 3 is going to count as a double crochet stitch. Then we're going to work 4 double crochets back into the very first stitch here. So we insert our hook and we do 1, 2, 3, and 4, all into that same stitch. Now remember that the chain 3 counts as 1, so technically we have 5 double crochet stitches. Now here's where the magic starts to happen. So this chain is going to get trapped in here. So what we want to do is we actually want to go down to row number 1 where we have our fan. We want to find the 5th stitch. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And into that 5th stitch, we're going to single crochet. But what you're going to do is you're going to insert your hook and make sure that when you pull up a loop, you trap that chain 5 in there. Just like that, and you single crochet, and that snuggles that into place. See that? Now you really want to make sure that you do that, because if you don't, and I'll just show you guys, if I just focus on this here and leave that behind, see, now you've just got this weird loop hanging out here. Okay, so you want to make sure that you trap that chain 5 in there. So you always find that 5th stitch, insert your hook, make sure to bring up your chain 5, and then you can trap that in there and single crochet. Okay, and now it's going to nestle in, and now you can see it's starting to take a little bit more of that boxy shape to it. Okay, so now it's a little easier because the next thing you see is a V stitch. So into the chain 1 space of the V, you're now going to place your 9 double crochet stitches. Okay, so we'll just insert into that V and do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and one more is 9. It's a lot of stitches into one space, okay? And therefore that's why it fans out the way it does, and that's why we call it a fan. Now you're going to do the same thing. You're going to go to the row below, or the first row I should say, and you're going to count and find the 5th stitch of that fan below. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So in there you'll insert. You'll make sure to trap that chain 5 in there and then single crochet. Okay, so now you can see that the fans are going to sit alternatively to the first set of fans. And that's why we use those V-stitches to set that up. Okay, then you would just repeat. You go into the next space and you would do 9 double crochets. Then you find the 5th chain here, single crochet, 9 double crochets into the space, single crochet, and then I'll meet up with you here to talk about how we're going to end off the row. Okay, so I've made my way across row number 3, and I'm just at the end here. So now what I want to do, if you'll notice at the beginning we have 5 double crochets, so we're going to have 5 double crochets at the end. So that's what's going to flank each side of row number 3. And so what we want to do, so we've got the chains here. Remember that chain 3 at the very beginning? We want to find the top of that chain. So this belongs to this stitch. We don't want to go in there. We want to go in here, and that's where we're going to place our 5 double crochets. So we have 1. So this is kind of like a half fan that flanks each side here. So there's 2, and this is 3, and 4, and 5. Okay, so now you can see we've got 5 here and 5 here. And yes, your work is looking all kinds of wonky because we're still working in the establishing stages. And again, this is why for me, I would probably, if I was doing like a blanket or something, I would probably do an establishing row or 2, just to give this little base here a little bit of structure. Okay, so now we need to go on to row number 4. So for row number 4, we are returning to those V's and chains. Okay, but what we're going to do is we're going to chain 3, 2, and 3. We'll turn our work. And then what we're going to do is we are going to skip over this portion of this fan, and we're going to work into that single crochet to place a V stitch. So we have a double crochet, a chain 1, and a double crochet. Okay, so because we had a partial fan, we didn't do the full 5 chains, okay? But now we are going to return to doing chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then you skip that whole fan and you go into the single crochet there and you place your V-stitch. So basically, very similar to what we did in row number 2. Okay, so double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you know the drill. Skip the fan and V-stitch into the single crochet. Okay, and now when you come to the end here, we're actually going to chain 2, 1, and 2. And then you are going to find the top of that chain 3 we did, and you are going to slip stitch into it. Just like that. Okay, so this is the end of row number 4, and your work looks like that. So you could call this the back, and then you turn that over, and this is the front. So now you can really see where we kind of pinched in with the single crochets, how the fan can almost have a box-like shape. Okay, so now we're going to go on to row number 5, which would now be essentially a repeat of row number 1. So what you're going to do is you will have turned your work at this point. Okay, you're going to chain 1, and now you're going to single crochet right into that spot where you slip stitched. So you single crochet, just like that. And now you're just going to go over to that V-stitch and place 9 double crochets. So basically this fan will be stacked on top of this fan here. Okay. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, And then we repeat what we did in row 1. So we find the 5th stitch of the next fan, or the fan from 2 rows below. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we're going to insert our hook there and also keep with us that chain 5. And we're going to trap it with a single crochet. Just like that. Okay. And basically it's, you know the drill. 9 double crochets, single crochet into the 5th chain, into the 5th stitch of the previous fan, trapping the chain. 9 double crochets, single crochet, 9 double crochets, and then we're going to single crochet into that very first single crochet there. Okay. And that will be the end of round number 5. Okay, so I've just done my last fan here, and now I'm just going to find the very first of that chain. So there was 3 chains, so the first of that chain, and I am just going to single crochet into there. And row number 5 is complete, and now you can see how our shells kind of nestle in between each other as you stack the rows. So from here on out, you would simply just repeat rows 2 through 5. So the V-stitches, fans, V-stitches, and fans. And you would do that until you create the length that you want. So right now, this is the stitch in and of itself. So you can see the V's really hold on to the fans nicely. And the way we single crochet into the middle, or the 5th stitch of the 9, just creates this really nice little self-ridge effect, which is really, really cool. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm just going to work up a few more repeats just so that you can kind of see in a nice swatch what it's going to look like. Because sometimes it's still hard to see in the first few rows of the repeat. So remember how this was really, really wonky? So some of it's starting to kind of work its way out. And again, with blocking, that'll work out fine. And even the sides that originally were kind of looking this way are starting to straighten out. So patterns like this, they just kind of push and pull as you go. And the more rows that you make, the smoother the edges will then become. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. If you're experienced and you're good to go, then you don't need to see any more. But I know a lot of times people like to see kind of a larger effect of what it's going to look like. So I'm going to do that. And I think you're really going to like it. I hope that you found it a little easier than you thought it was going to be. And especially if you're a little newer, I hope that you will tackle this and maybe try something like a fun baby blanket, or even a beautiful scarf would be really, really nice. So, but let me know, what do you plan on doing with your fans and V stitches stitch? That's a mouthful. So you could do, you could even make a hat out of this. You can do a cardigan. I mean, there's so many things that you can do, but share with us what you would do with it. And it kind of helps us get crochet inspiration. I know we're always looking for some inspiration on how to use some of these fun and fancy new stitches. Now, if you have any other questions, leave it for me in the comment box down below. As you know, you can also email me directly. I know a lot of you like to do that. You can email me at info@crochetcrafty.com, and make sure to attach a photo of your work, and that way I can have a better understanding of the question that you have for me. And as always, I invite you to visit the website crochetcrafty.com. So many fabulous resource tools there for you, as well as a bunch of free written patterns and a link to my Etsy shop. So if you're enjoying the material and you want to help support the show, then I'd love it if you would purchase one of my patterns. So thank you so much. And I love it when you guys say hi to me. I'm on Facebook and Instagram at The Stitch Sessions. So make sure to tag me anytime you create something using one of my designs. I'd really love to see it. All right, guys, that is it for today's tutorial. I am going to, in the end credits here, I will put a photo of this full swatch so you can get a nice close-up look and a full effect of what. Okay, so I'm just interjecting here at the very end. So I've done several more rows so you can see this is what it looks like. And I know that I will have some people asking me questions about how to kind of straighten out that edge if I wanted to. Like, because obviously you have a straight edge here and you want to make it nice and even. So what you would do now is you would repeat your V-stitch round. And I'll show you how I did it. So it's basically the same thing. The difference is we are going to anchor this chain 5 down to the fans here. So I just did that here. So basically, I'm going to show you, actually, let me take this out here. So we've just finished doing a V-stitch, and normally you would chain 5 and then come to the V, but we want to anchor our chain 5 down. So we're only going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and then we're going to find that 5th stitch and we're going to slip stitch into it. So what that does is it anchors our kind of chain 5 area, see that? Whereas in the past, we would trap the chain 5 when we were working the fans. So here we would do chain 2, 1, 2. So you have 5 stitches. You have the 2 chains, the slip stitch, and the other 2 chains, okay? And then you would do your V-stitch as usual. Double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, okay? And then again, you chain 2, and then find your 5th stitch. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and you would slip stitch into it. And that is how you straighten out your edge. Okay, then you chain 2, and then at the very end, we do 2 double crochets into that very last stitch there. Just like that. Okay, so this is the back side, but so now you have a piece of fabric that looks nice and uniform. And in fact, if you were kind of doing a blanket or something like that, I myself would then go around and do a border just to kind of solidify this edge here. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but for me, it's kind of like flimsy. And I would probably do like a solid row, maybe double crochets or something like that, half double crochets, whatever you like. But that is how you would make your edges all nice and uniform. And you can see I've done a few more rows here, so you can really see the nice effect. Now, a little something, if you wanted to kind of keep that scalloped edge, like let's say you were making a scarf, for example, and so if I take this out, because I actually kind of like the way the edge just remains on its own, or even a baby blanket would be nice. You can keep that like that, right? So you like the edge here, and it creates like a nice little ending. You can totally leave your last row as the fan row, but now you're thinking, well, how the heck do I make it even? So this is what I would do. I would work a blanket or a scarf from the center outward. So this would basically be 1/2. So I would start, you know, as usual, I would work half the length. So if I'm doing a scarf, right? Like let's say, just to make it nice and easy, I'm going to make the scarf 6 feet long. I'm going to start here and work 3 feet and then fasten off. And then, so this will be one edge. And then I would come back this way and I would start working this stitch and I would work into this edge and work my way out to do the other 3 feet. So then you've got the scalloped edge on both sides and it's nice and even. I hope that makes sense. So it's kind of a little trick that I use when I want to kind of manipulate a stitch to take advantage of that natural little wave there. And there you have it, guys, the fans and V-stitch pattern. So I hope you have an amazing day. Happy crocheting. Take really good care of yourselves, guys, and I'll see you guys in next week's session. Bye-bye.